The need for leadership development and building relationships between all segments of society were part of a vision created by researchers and faculty at Michigan State University in the early 1960s. But it was Dr. Russell G Mawby who saw the true potential of this idea and was able to provide the leadership to make the dream a reality.
I would call Russ Mawby the father of the Ag Leadership Programs because I think it was his vision that developed them in the first place.
It's just been a very transformative experience.
Russ was one of a kind. I think anybody that met him knew that he was a very special person.
The influence on my life was, I think, rather dramatic.
The Kellogg Foundation and Russ had an awful lot to do with expanding leadership development across the country and across the world.
In the 2 decades following World War II, agriculture, like the industrialized society to which it belonged, was growing more complex. In the mid-1950s, Dr. Paul Miller, director of the Cooperative Extension Service, and Dr. Thomas Cowden, dean of MSU's College of Agriculture and Natural Resources, recognized the need for farmers and rural leaders to have a broader understanding of the world in which they lived and to be knowledgeable about current issues impacting agriculture and Michigan. After several ideas were piloted and explored, Dr. Lawrence L. Boger, chairman of the Department of Agricultural Economics, assigned MSU faculty Dr. David Boyne, Dr. Russell G Mawby, and Dr. Arthur Mock the task of developing a leadership development program proposal. While all three had significant influence on the final curriculum, it was Russ Mawby who had become most closely associated with leadership development.
A lot of the ag leadership orientations were more related to the implementation of new science and technology, management, value-added, marketing, and so forth, and all of those were important. But we recognized that over time, because of the changing nature of the political processes, we needed to have farm leadership who would be sensitive, understanding of those changes and the importance to have an understanding beyond leaders in farming.
In the spring of 1964, the proposals left the drawing board and were presented to the WK Kellogg Foundation, which initially refused to support the program. Dr. Mawby continued to work with his colleagues to refine the proposals, and when he left the university in December of 1964 to become the director of the Division of Agriculture for the Kellogg Foundation, he took the vision for a groundbreaking leadership program with him. In 1965, he asked MSU to resubmit its request, and working with his colleagues at both MSU and the Foundation, he was able to forge a partnership which created a lasting legacy of leadership development, not only for Michigan, but around the world.
The impact that Russ and through his vision is tremendous. Russ's vision with the concept of these leadership programs and models have been far-reaching further than the state of Texas or Illinois or Washington State or wherever these programs are throughout the United States and internationally.
The model assembled in 1965 has resulted in nearly 40 state programs across the U.S. and 7 programs in other parts of the world. In the over 45 years since its inception, an estimated 12,000 individuals have benefited from leadership training programs that had their origins in the original model developed at MSU. The 5 Kellogg Farmer Study programs conducted from 1965 to 1972 in Michigan graduated approximately 150 people, including Bob Bender of Berry County.
First vivid recollections are the broad scope of this program. It wasn't just agriculture, it encompassed everything. It encompassed economics, government, philosophy, so the broad aspect of the program involving us in many aspects of life, I think was one of the things that hit me as being the most valuable.
And it wasn't just the participant who gained from the experience.
From this experience with this program, the whole family grew, become better rounded, more knowledgeable, learn how to think for themselves and to take on any new situation or any problem or issue that arises on their own.
In the early 1980s, a new version of the program was launched. The Michigan Agricultural Leadership Program, also known as MALP, included a broader audience and the first female participants.
Having women included in the program meant a change in the agricultural landscape, if you will. The role of women was changing, not only in in life in general, but particularly in the agricultural industry. And we saw an increase in the number of women that were active in production agriculture, the number of women that were active in organizations related to agriculture increased as well. And it was a big deal. I won't kid you, it was a big deal.
90 participants would graduate from 3 MALC classes during the 1980s, and it would be May of 2005 when MSU would once again develop a partnership with the Kellogg Foundation to become a pioneer in leadership development with the launch of the Great Lakes Leadership Academy.
The Great Lakes Leadership Academy is built on the legacy of the leadership programs that began earlier. What sets GLLA apart is that we're intentional in bringing together a diverse group of people. So we bring together people from all over the state with differing backgrounds, with differing cultures, and pull together uncommon connections. And we believe that when we empower leaders with facilitative leadership skills that can help them to look at critical issues from an inclusive way, that we can make a difference for the common good in Michigan.
Current graduates see the program as valuable today as they did in the 1960s.
It's been way more sort of useful and applicable than I sort of knew a leadership program could be. I think one of the most enjoyable parts for me is the diversity of the cohort, and especially, I'm an urban girl and I work on urban issues, but I love that I now have all these friends who are farmers and work in agriculture. It just has exposed me to so many different ways of thinking about the issues that our state faces.
The program does a really good job to test your growth edges and to put you in places and experiences that you don't get on a day-to-day life experience. I live on a farm and work on a farm most of the time, so getting to go to cities and interact with cities and see situations that are happening in either cities or governments and those sorts of things, it really lets me take a different perspective back to my day-to-day operations.
One of the highlights of all these experiences is and continues to be the international travel. It left a lasting impression on Bob Bender.
The quote that I had written when we first hit Ethiopia was, "Unimaginable filth and poverty. The futility of it all, how do you start?" Excuse me. That was touching, and I think it was that got us interested and manifests itself now in the humanitarian kinds of things.
And so what does Dr. Russ Mawby think about the evolution of these programs over the years?
I think it's exciting because to me it carries on in a very contemporary and a very appropriate way, an update of a concept. You're involving young people, women and men, from a wide variety of career responsibilities and areas of community, and involving them in a broader kind of approach with dealing some of the major issues which confront our country and our world.
Many have been touched personally by the program, as well as by the vision and persistence of Dr. Mawby.
His legacy will live through these programs for generations to come, through the lives that have been touched by the multitudes of alumni through all of our programs.
To thank Russ Mawby, words can't express my appreciation for the vision he had to start the Kellogg program.
Some people have had the foresight and the vision to see something out there that the rest of us don't always have, and have a person, go ahead and do that type of thing is really extraordinary.
For me personally, for the Farm Study Program, collectively for the Farm Study Program, and for all the other things that he did through the foundation that affected so many people and so many in this state and around the world, literally, that I don't know how you could say thank you enough.
Here in Michigan and around the world, the legacy of leadership development continues to grow thanks to the work of Russ Mawby and his colleagues that began as an idea to help agriculture and rural Michigan grow and prosper.
Thank you. Thank you for that vision that, Russ, you had so many years ago that is hopefully being carried out and will be carried out for decades to come.